Hi, this is Jim Durkin. Welcome to today's webinar. It is on the administration side of Impact Suite to show your network administrators and your system administrators how ACT and Impact kind of coexist in its preferences and things like that. So here we are with ACT version 16 running, and if we go to the Tools menu, we are going to see that Impact Suite is installed, so I can go to its About window. Under its About window on the left-hand side, we have tabs. We can navigate to different areas of the preferences. But if we were just to go straight to the modules one, you're going to see here that we have a check mark in Shared Network Preferences. Now, what does shared versus local preferences do? When you're sharing the preferences, things like color rules, your table layouts, your column sets, things like that can be seen by any user that has their shared preferences on. And as you can see, it's showing us the path that this shared preferences are stored in. These shared preferences are unique to this database, so they're stored in the database supplemental folder, which is really this. I'm in the ACT 2013 demo database, and ACT creates a supplemental directory database files where it stores its supplemental folders. So let's actually just go back to the About window. And right here we have a hot link. It says Plug-in Files. And if I click on that link, it's going to open up that folder for us. So here is that folder. And if we just walk up, we're in Durkin right now. If we walk up, you may or may not have been in this section, and this is where ACT stores its things like layouts, its queries, its own reports or templates. And if I open up, these are the ACT templates that you're going to see from ACT's pull-down menu system. Again, that's where ACT stores everything. What we do is we create a Durkin folder inside of that supplemental files folder, and inside of the Durkin folder, we store preferences that are unique to different modules in our software. So as you can see, we have calendar, we have reports, we have queries, we have the smart notes. These are our applications that store unique things in here. But let's go into the toolkit. Inside the toolkit, you're going to see views that are unique, folders that are unique to each view. So when you're on the contact list and you're looking at different layouts on the contact list, those layouts are stored inside of this folder. When you're on the contact list and you click on the print button and you get to our merge engine window, which asks you to select which template you want to merge, those templates that are unique to the contacts are stored in this contact folder. So if I look at here, I can see we have the calendar, we have groups, we have histories, we have folders that are unique to ACT's views, but we also have something like equipment. That is a custom table that the Impact Suite has created. So it's a custom view, and again, inside of the custom view, we have preferences files that are unique to that custom view. Now, how are we backed up inside of ACT? ACT does not see our Durkin folder. In fact, it just looks at its own unique folders and backs up those ones individually. It does not do a all and back up everything in the database files folder. So what Impact does is it creates a zip file to piggyback onto the ACT backup. And if we look inside of the backup folder, what we're going to find is that piggyback file. So it's Durkin UI Impact v5. On this computer at one time I had version 4 of our Impact installed, but we see the Impact v5. This is a zip file of everything I was just talking about in that Durkin folder. So now when you back up the ACT database, ACT will look inside of the backup folder and zip everything together and back this up. In the restore process, the reverse happens. Of course, ACT restores this Durkin Impact folder, and then Impact will then say, hey, that file, that zip file exists. Let me extract it back into the demo database. So again, this is how we piggyback into the ACT backup system. Okay, let's go back into ACT. So again, we're still on the About window, and what I want to point out now is some of the administration system stuff. Users have put in Impact into a terminal server environment. And on a terminal server environment, you may have 50 users logged in, but only 10 or 20 of them need to see the Impact suite. The other users either don't need to see it or don't require it. Well, this is where our admin panel comes along, administration panel. When you click on the administration panel, it shows you a list of all the users that are in the current database. So out of these users, I can see that Chris, Huffman, Allison, and Betty over here on the left-hand side, they are designers, meaning I'm the administrator, I'm allowing them to design or alter or edit the preferences and the layouts and so forth. Now, Juliet and Melissa here, I have them in runtime mode. Runtime mode means I can lock them down. They can't edit the layouts. They can't do certain specific settings. And not only that is I can set which views or which tables they can see. People ask us, it's like, well, okay, I have a production table, I have a sales quoting table, I have a tech support table. And of course, the tech support guys only need to see the tech support table. They don't need to see the sales table. How do I stop them from seeing it? Well, this is where you would do that. I would come in to, say, Allison, and from Allison, I'm going to set her to a runtime mode. And by default, everything is turned on for Allison. So I'm going to say to Allison, well, she can't see the pledge table, so I'm going to turn off her preferences to see it. Now, what happens is the next time Allison logs in, because she's in runtime mode, when she comes to the Impact About window, she cannot alter or turn on the different areas. Okay. So again, I can go down this list and I can say, well, Betty, let's put Betty, I'll put her in runtime mode. And I can choose on and off. But Betty may be one of those people we don't need to see Impact Suite at all. We don't want to need to give her a license. She doesn't need to see any of the interface enhancements. So I can actually say she's bypassed. What that does is when she logs on to the terminal server and she launches ACT, Impact Suite, when it loads, will say, oh, do I need to implement myself in the ACT interface? And it comes to these preferences or this settings and says, oh, well, I'm Betty logging in, so I'm bypassed, so show no interface changes. So ACT looks like the native ACT, and she will not see any implementation in the system. She won't even get to the About menu. She can't go to Tools and try to turn something on. She just clearly sees native ACT. Okay, so let's just close that down. Okay, question is, what's the difference between, well, not just the question is shared preferences, but what is the local preferences? When you have shared preferences on, and again, those shared preferences are things like layouts and such, and are stored in that supplemental file area, there are still local preferences that are stored on a local PC based on the user's settings. Now, local preferences are like, I go to my activity list and I say, I want to view everything from today into the future. Well, when I close down ACT and I restart ACT, Impact remembers that that user is looking at today and everything in the future. It's not a global preference. Of course, I set that. It doesn't change everybody else's view. It just changes my view, my filters, my criteria lookup. Those preferences are stored in the My Documents folder. So as you go to your C drive, you have your libraries and you have your documents. You're going to find a Durkin Impact V5 folder, and this is the area where Impact stores those local preferences. I want to see all the opportunities by Chris Huffman for this date range. Those preferences are stored in here, and they're broken down into individual folders, which are the individual modules of the application. So opportunities we were just talking about, here's Durkin View's opportunity list. Now, it's database specific because I could say Chris Huffman when I'm in the ACT demo database, but I might have a different database opened at any given time, and there is no Chris Huffman in there. So what we have is we have a current database folder and then database specific folder. So let's go into the ACT 2013 demo database, and here's a config file. Again, this is the configuration settings for me, the user logged in to the ACT demo 2013 demo database for the opportunity section, the opportunity view. So let's go back up here. And again, what we're going to see is different folders into different settings for each module in the application. All right, let me open up the question panel. And what I'm going to do is we have I don't know, under 30 users attendees in this list. So I'm going to open up some of the microphones to see if we can handle some direct questions. Hello, everybody. I'm going to try to turn on some people's audio. Okay. All right. So some of the questions I have so far here. Again, this is all right. So you've never encountered any problems creating a non-ACT folder in the supplemental files, and does it sync? Okay, great question. It's about syncing. I just talked about the ACT folders. You know, if we go to again the About window and plugin files. Now, this plugin files, that little link, it's just a quick link to get into the ACT demo database files folder. I mean, you can, open up your C drive and walk into this folder directly. But we have a quick link there. I guess the question is, how does the system sync when ACT creates a sync set, and when the sync database connects to ACT, how does it know what changes are in the layouts? Well, it does that, again, by the same system of when you're in Durkin and we create the backup folder, we're creating into here. ACT does sync this backup folder. So we see that this backup was created 11/14 at 10:09. That file, ACT will sync. If that file date changes, ACT says, oh, I need to send that file down to all the remote databases. When you're on a remote and you launch ACT, it looks inside of that backup folder and says, well, the last time I had that zip file was on 9/10. This is a newer zip file, so Impact itself goes in and extracts the information, the layouts, the files, the folders from that zip and extracts it into its Durkin folder. So we're actually piggybacking not only the ACT backup system, but we're piggybacking the ACT sync system. So that's all handled internally by ACT via this backup folder. Good question about the administration. What happens when I'm the administrator? I set everybody to runtime, including myself. I'm in designer mode, and I say, hey, I'm bypassed. Literally, you set everybody to bypass and restart ACT, you would think that, oh, you completely locked out any possibilities of getting back into the Impact. Not true. Because when you log on as a system administrator into the ACT database, it does not adhere to the bypass mode. So I am Chris Huffman. I am a system administrator in the ACT 2013 demo database. On the logon procedure, we look at that conditions and say, well, you're admin. Admins can never be bypassed. So yes, you can set the interface in here to say they're bypassed, but if I relogged on as Chris Hoffman, system administrator or database administrator, I will not be bypassed in the Durkin impact settings. And again, I'm just taking my time here, just reading some of these questions off. So here we have, what's the process to move the previously local preferences to a network shared? Good question. When you're doing a rollout and you have, say, 20 users you're installing Impact for, of course, in that database, your My Company database, I can do the layouts and do all those shared settings. And of course, as everybody logs in, they're going to see those layout folders, those layout files and such. But I want the users to see this column, this criteria, those local preferences, as we call them. How do you roll those local preferences out? So Monday morning, Mary, Tom, Bob, and everybody that I showed understands their windows, their views based on what I trained them on Wednesday, the week before. So you can copy the local preferences from one PC to another. So say this is my source PC, and I set everything up in here. Let me get my mouse over here. And I set everything up the way I wanted to. I go to my columns, I do this, and this is the rollout look that I want. What we just have people do is you just go into your My Documents folder and just take this folder, the Durkin Impact folder, and copy it from the source PC to the destination, to Mary, to Tom, to Bob's PC. If you've installed Impact and Act and started it once on their PC, that folder will already exist. So you're just going to have to overwrite it. Does the folder exist? Yes. Replace it? Yes. If you've never launched Impact, it's the first time you're actually viewing that PC, then you can just copy this folder into their My Documents. And then when Impact starts, it's going to say, oh, that folder exists. I'm just going to use what's inside of that folder. It's not going to recreate it. It's not going to burn the preferences. It's not going to overwrite it. It's going to say, hey, there's an Impact V5 folder. Hey, I might have been launched before, so I'm just going to use those files, those settings that are in here. So again, network-wide, you're launching for 20 users. Then you're installing Act on those 20 PCs. You're installing Impact on those 20 PCs. You could take that Durkin Impact V5 folder, copy it to your thumb drive or to your network drive, and as you walk to each PC to do the installation, at the end you would just copy that Impact V5 into their My Documents folder, and you'll have a rollout for 20 users. The question is, well, what's the effect of the local My Docs folder if it's been redirected? Meaning redirected is a lot of network guys, rightfully so, when they're setting up 20, 30, 40, 100 users in the company, they want to back up everybody's kind of personal data, and the personal data is the stuff in My Documents. But they don't want to have to put, Carbonite in 100 computers and back it up and have 100 accounts. So what the network guys do, the administrators do, is they redirect the My Documents folder to an actual folder on the server. And then on that server, they have a backup plan, and it backs up all 100 people's, 100 users' folders. On the desktop, users don't know that's happening. They will go to Windows and say, let me go into My Documents folder. And if they go to My Documents, they don't really realize that this is a redirect, that they're actually looking at a folder on the server. And so the question, what I start off with, is how does Impact handle that redirect? It handles it flawlessly, because what we do is we ask the operating system for the path to the My Documents folder. If under the hood, the operating system is saying, well, My Documents is really on P drive, users backup, blah, 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 it doesn't matter to us. We get back from the operating system that redirect. So whether you're on a native Act PC with no redirect, or if you're on a network environment, Impact, and any other .NET application, we just ask the operating system, please give us a path to the My Documents folder, and that's handed back to us, the application, and we would adhere to its path, Z: users folder. All right, let me just get a couple more questions here. We got a lot of questions pouring in this morning. Some of the questions revolved around the same things. Again, I'm just kind of reading them to myself, as you can hear, and revolve around the same kind of questions. How do you copy the one user from an existing database and copy it over to a network shared? Again, the network shared, what you would do is redirect all the the local PCs, to redirect to specific folders on the server, and then you would copy the My Documents folder into those 10 redirects up to the server. Okay. Well, I just wanted to see if there's any final questions here. We're going on 25 minutes here, and if I see any final questions coming in, I'll try to grab them. But I just really wanted to thank everybody for attending. I know this was not much interface. If you were looking specifically for tips and tricks in the Impact Suite, then hopefully you'll join us for some of the other webinars that would go into more details about opportunities, about calendaring and things like that. What I wanted to try to do today in this presentation is just talk about how Impact backup system and its administration system wraps around ACT. So again, I want to thank everybody for attending, and if you have any questions I haven't got to, you can send me an email at jim@durkincomputing.com. There are some questions in there I know people have asked me, and I will reply to those offline after the meeting. But again, thanks everybody for attending, and have a great day.